So what I've drafted is a bill which would propose to the voters a constitutional amendment for Texas, which would set up a what I'm calling a Federal Action Review Commission. Other names are possible. We could call it a commission on to review federal actions, or whatever. But those are the four key words. And what it would do would be organized as like a grand jury, with 23 members, drawn at random from a pool of constitutional scholars, legal experts. It wouldn't be ordinary citizens, but it would be people who had enough training in law and legal history to be able to make an informed decision concerning what is and is not constitutional. The idea would be that they would hear complaints about unconstitutional federal actions, and if they found that a federal action was unconstitutional, their finding would be an edict with a force of law requiring non-cooperation by all state officials and urging citizens not to cooperate. So the commission would become the body that would sit between sessions of the legislature, meeting at least once a week to hear citizen complaints and be able to operate to lead civil disobedience to them. So there are several other components to this proposal. Besides creating the commission and providing for how it would be selected, how it would operate, there's also a provision for state funding to defend citizens who run afoul of these federal statutes and who need to be defended in court. Now there's a Supreme Court precedent that bars states from representing their citizens in federal court in what is called parens patriae. This is an old legal doctrine that the government can represent the rights of citizens in court. And the Supreme Court in 1923 ruled that states couldn't do that. So what states can still do is provide funding to private lawyers to represent such citizens. So the bill that I have drafted so far tries to cover all the key bases in order to mobilize the citizens of the state to resist unconstitutional federal actions. And when I say federal actions, I don't just mean federal legislation. I also mean administrative or regulatory actions. I mean judicial decisions, all kinds of things. Now, it would not be a review of unconstitutional state actions. Some people have asked me to include that. I don't think that's a good idea, because this needs to be a state body and free of interference by state officials. And if it starts trying to review state actions, it would be seen as competing with the legislature, and the legislature wouldn't want to support that. So we need a body that is only going to review federal actions and only report on those that it finds unconstitutional. It would not be finding whether they are constitutional. It's not tasked to do that. It's only tasked to look at one in one direction, namely for unconstitutional federal actions. Now, what I would hope and expect is that initially the Commission would not try to take on too much at one time. That it would start out with small things that the feds are doing that are clearly unconstitutional and build up public support for resisting those, and then from one week to the next add more and more and more, each one becoming a little bit bolder, more fundamental, so that its findings, its reports, its presentments would become news items that would become the topics of public discussion, that public support would build for them as each report came out, and that over the course of a few years it would gradually build up to the point where, first of all, other states would be joining in with their own commissions, and second, there would be a groundswell of public resistance to unconstitutional federal actions that would eventually make it almost impossible for Congress politically to adopt them, and indeed would drive them even perhaps to repeal a lot of the stuff. So that is the hope, and I'm spreading the word as widely as I can. This video is one of them. I hope that you will encourage your friends and neighbors to view it, to go to our website, to get the draft of the bill so far, and to work with your own state legislatures to adapt and adopt versions in each state. They don't have to be identical. Some states may not want commissions that have legislatures that are in continuous session. But the legislature in Texas only meets for 180 days every other year. So it's not in continuous session, and it cannot attend to all the complaints that might come before it. Besides which, we really need a separate structure, a grand jury-like structure that won't take up any of the time of the legislature. Therefore, the proposal as we've outlined it.